Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Prep Report. I'm Rich Estrella. I'm with my colleague and friend, Bob Gibson. Thank you for joining us tonight. Bob, we are working our way, inching our way to the halfway point of the CIF and City Section football season, and things are starting to heat up. We had a lot of great preseason games.
Yeah.
What I really like about having the national stuff all tied in now is the fact.
We were talking earlier in our show prep, they're 20 deep at running back. They're 20 deep at every position, except for quarterback. They don't need to be 20 deep there, but this is a team that just has talent on top of talent on top of talent. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, the receiver, the top receiver coming back this season, he hadn't even played the first 3 weeks of the year.
I know.
Comes back.
That's what's scary.
Yeah, that is what's scary, and they're still blowing people out. The second play of the game, he catches a 25-yard touchdown pass from J.T. Daniels. It's like they never missed a beat, and he caught 3 first-half touchdowns, and that's all Mater Dei really needed from that point.
Well, Mater Dei, if they haven't proved themselves yet, I don't know what else they have to do. Bergen Catholic was a top 20 team, or usually is a top 20 team. 2 weeks ago, they dusted off Bishop Gorman. They were the first team in California to beat Bishop Gorman. Bishop Gorman's always in the national hunt, and I have no doubt they'll be in it again this year before it's all over with. But Mater Dei's had a very respectful season so far, 4-0. And we'll talk about the test coming up this week. It doesn't really seem like they're going to be they're going to be tested. They have what's funny, but though, Bob, is looking at the top 20, and we'll talk about it in a couple minutes here in the nation. I mean, you got like 4 teams in the Trinity League that are in there right now.
It's so true. The Trinity League is stacked top to bottom. And what's really scary about this Mater Dei team is not the offense, because we know what this offense can do. J.T. Daniels, St. Brown, Jacoby Harper, Brew McCoy, one of their top receivers as well, Nico Remigio, catching touchdown passes left and right. But it's that defense. Mase Funa, who came in this season, a couple other kids, that are playing.
Bol.
Oh, yeah, Bol. They might as well try to see if Bol can play.
Wide receiver, man.
Throw him out there. He's 7 feet tall, right?
Yeah.
So, it's crazy as we move on to our next score here. Talk about another lopsided score.
Well, the next score we're looking at is, of course, Corona Centennial over Narbonne. Narbonne is City Power. By the way, that game was at Centennial, lest anybody think it was at Narbonne. But anyways, Corona Centennial 52-6 over Narbonne. Thomas Winslow, Octavio Cortez. These guys are both pushing 100 yards per game each, rushing.
And that's the Centennial way. They always have 2 backs, one way, the other way, and they just keep giving them off, one after the other, and they always just run the ball.
They have 2 capable quarterbacks right now. Centennial does. Their wide receiver core, you can't really cover one guy and expect to stop them because they got 2 other guys. Everybody has great potential with Corona. I don't care who you are.
Look, this is a Narbonne team that should be right in the hunt for a city championship this year. That's a pretty good Narbonne team. That just tells you the level that Corona Centennial is on, that they would be able to run that kind of a score up on a very good Narbonne team.
Well, Matt Logan traditionally has good teams. He's been a national champion. He's always in the hunt in the CIF playoffs, always in that big division. So Corona's going to be off for 2 weeks now. I believe they're going to have a couple weeks off before they come back and play again. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, obviously, they're going to sit at that number 8 spot, probably move up a little bit in the rankings nationally. We'll talk more about that. But it's sad to see how far Narbonne has fallen off the chart, because not too long ago, a couple of years ago, they were in the national hunt, national rankings all.
I mean, they had one of those top teams over there,
every year.
in the rankings. You're right. Rancho Cucamonga 31-7 over Bishop Amat. That doesn't surprise me that Cucamonga won the game. I thought Amat, who had week by week now had really shown they were making some strides, only to come up with 7 points. That was curious to me in this one. Listen,
Amat's had to take on a lot of tough schools this year. No different here with Rancho Cucamonga.
Yeah.
Rancho Cucamonga is a national power as well. Got to the semifinals last year, or the finals last year in the CIF Southern section. They're back. They are a lot like we were talking about Corona Centennial, where they have a lot of balance. Their running backs are great. They both average about 75, 80 yards per game, which in high school is a lot. You get 150 yards rushing, you're doing pretty good in the preps. Nick Acosta, their quarterback's thrown for over 800 yards already. So the balance is there for Rancho Cucamonga. The question is, how are they going to finish? They're always there.
Well, and that's a good point, because Rancho always seems to run into a roadblock somewhere down the line. They're good, but they're not to the point where they always get over the top and get that championship at the end. But they're always a top team, no doubt about it.
All right, let's continue on. We see Rancho Santa Margarita over Mayfair. Now, a couple of years ago, this was a good game. This is a really good game. I think it was 49-3 actually, but either way, this would be a good game. Mayfair built four CIF championships, been there like 8 times. They're a pretty good team. But Santa Margarita this year, they're putting it together. They got a second-year coach there, Rich Fisher, who's doing a great job right now. He took it over for your boy Harvey Welch, who's the legend.
Harvey, who won CIF championships at every level at 4 different schools. I think
now that's funny. We call him Harvey. I mean, we're doing that as a joke because of the.
We do know it's Harry Welch.
We know it's Harry Welch, but we're saying that because of when they covered the game, they kept calling him Harvey. So every time we see Coach Welch, we joke about it.
You think a guy that won that many championships would get a little more respect, right? Yeah.
But before we go to the next score, which we have Edison, San Joaquin Hills, but we're not done talking about Santa Margarita. 56-0 over Downey. 35-0 over Loyola, 61-7 over Almany, and of course the Mayfair score. So they've only allowed 10 points all season. That's it.
And that was the question mark on Santa Margarita coming in was going to be their offense. Could they score a point? The defense we knew was going to be good. And Rich Fisher, who's an offensive coach, coached wide receivers in college. He was going to be able to go in and try to get these kids going. Well, Chad Magyar is running wild over there. They're not throwing the ball as much, but they're running the ball. And that's a key to be able to possess the ball and win the time of possession in a game in the Trinity League. If you can keep the ball away from Mater Dei, maybe you've got a chance to keep a game respectable. But
absolutely,
it's gonna take a big.
It's
going to take a big
bear, man.
It's going to take a huge performance from somebody in the Trinity if they're going to take down Mater Dei this year. But all those teams in the Trinity, top teams in Southern California, every single one of them.
A lot of them in the nation too. Okay, Edison, San Juan Hills. Of course, Edison was at home at this ball game. We got them flip-flop here, but anyways, 28-0. The reason we have this score up here is not because Edison won 28-0. It's more about Dave White. Dave White had been at the helm of the Chargers for 31 years. Right. He finally, and actually it's been longer than that because he was an assistant there, but he left. Coach Grady's there now, and he's 3-1 on the season. He's had a great schedule so far, and it's great to see Edison just moving on because I thought there'd be a drop-off after White left.
I worried about that too because we've seen that happen before where a legendary coach leaves a program and then they kind of fall apart a little bit, and you have that. But Edison is such a good foundation with the Chargers that they weren't going to let that happen over there, and they haven't missed a beat, obviously.
No, not at all. All right, let's move on and have a look at what many were calling the game of the week, even nationally. This was the game of the week because Mission Viejo and Pauley were both. Pauley was in the top 10. Mission Viejo was in the top 25. Right. And they met, and there's the result, 12-6. This game was crazy. And actually, it was actually 12-7. I don't know, we have 6 on there, but Pauley was at home. It was Pauley was leading 7-6, Bob, late in the fourth quarter. And then, man, fate struck for Pauley. An interception late in the game for a pick. Elijah Griffin, man, taking it to the house.
Elijah Griffin, whose father is the rapper Warren G, who went to Long Beach Poly. Yeah. So, that had to hurt his old man a little bit there to see him against his He's playing for Orange County Bomb down there.
But I'm living in Mission Viejo, baby. All these rappers, man, everybody's so full of it. It's all personas, man. Nobody's that tough.
But that Mission Viejo defense, they're legit down there. They're legit, and they're going to play Santa Margarita now. We'll talk about that game coming up as well. That's going to be a big test for both of those programs. But Mission Viejo is hoping to ride their top defense against Santa Margarita this week because they certainly did it against Pauley.
Pauley had 4 turnovers in that ball game. They turned the ball over 4. In other words, they gave away 4 possessions in that game and only lost by 5. Not to mention they had 13 penalties for like 115, 120 yards on the day. I mean, they had a lot of things working against them.
Well, Pauley's quarterback, Matt Corral, he's going to Florida.
Yeah.
He's a Florida commit. So this isn't some, second-tier kid. This is a top-end kid, and Mission Viejo went in there and took away 4 interceptions from him. So, that tells you right there, how good that Mission Viejo defense is. Not
just him, but, they have 5 wide receivers that are going D1 already. Right. 5! You can only play 3 maximum if you run a flanker or trips.
They got 2 guys standing on the sideline who are still getting free rides somewhere.
Dudes, man. They can't go anywhere else but there.
It's crazy.
All right, let's take a quick look now at the top 10. What do you want me to tell you? Mater Dei, Corona, Bosco, Orange Lutheran, Sarah, Chaminade, Rancho Cucamonga, and Bob, I'm very upset with you for putting Sarah in there last week. I trusted you with the top 10. And anyways,
That's Jay Sarah.
not that they won't be. I know that. not that they won't be back.
No.
But I'm just saying for now.
You're right. You're right, Sarah. But Sarah, because we have to make the distinction between Sarah and Jay Sarah, which is always a you always have to
People
make sure
always
you get
mix that up.
But you're right. Sarah's a program in Gardena that has always been a top program, and I thought maybe 0-2 start. They're still a top program, but maybe this is the year Sarah
Bob,
finally fell off just a little bit.
If it smells like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And if you're 0-2, you're a duck. All right.
Hard to believe that program will fall in hard times.
Anyway,
They always
Chaminade,
have
Rancho
to.
Cucamonga, Santa Margarita, Servite, Mission Viejo wrap out the top 10. But let's look at it more critically now. Lauderdale number 1, Bosco number 3, Orange Lutheran 4, G Sarah 5. And then you got Santa Margarita. And so you got 6 of the top 10 teams in one league. And nationally, like 4 of those guys are in the national hunt right
Every
now.
team, right? Look at that.
going
Every
on?
team in the Trinity League compromises part of that top 10. It's incredible. I told you, every team in that league will not only go to the playoffs, every team in that league would beat whoever they're playing against if they weren't playing another Trinity team. They'd all be undefeated on the season if they didn't have to play each other at some point here.
That's why this is going to change a little bit.
It will.
It's just going to change a little bit, Bob. Just a little bit, because I can't. If Modern Day and Bosco go and it's a tight ball game, you can't move them off the perch.
And you're not going to be able to. And if Orange Lutheran, is as good as I think they might be against Modern Day, then you're not going to be able to move them down too much either.
I think Santa Margarita's the sleeper right now.
I
Just
agree
as
with
of 4 weeks in, I think they're the sleeper.
I agree with you, and I think Servite's still sitting there, and they're getting better and better each week. And as they get more used to running that Corona Centennial offense that we've seen, we talked about Centennial running up 62 points in a game. Servite's starting to be that way too, and the more confident they get in that offense, the better they're going to be as well.
Well, we'll see what happens with the level of competition, man. There's all kinds of stuff going on.
Anyways, Mission Viejo's probably going to get a. You're going to get an email or a phone call. We both might. They're going to say, how come we're not up higher on that list?
Well, they're not done yet. They should be happy they're in the
but
top 10, man. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
I agree. I think Mission Viejo's going to say, hey, we should be up higher on that list. I guarantee you they're talking about it.
All right, we're talking about it too.
That's the whole point.
Hey, let's move on to the city section now. We have Randy Rosenbloom, and Randy's going to bring us an update of the LA City section. Let's go to Randy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LA City Section Report. My name is Randy Rosenbloom. Of course, we're going to start with high school football in the LA City section, and it always starts with Narbonne. And I know Narbonne's 2-2 this year, but they are the 3-time LA City champions. Now, they lost this past weekend in a hard-fought battle at Corona Centennial, 52-6. Simple fact is Narbonne couldn't get their defense off the field and finally wore down against the high-powered Huskies of Corona Centennial. Jamar Jefferson, the outstanding transfer, great player out of Redondo, who is now with Narbonne, did have their 1 touchdown, an 80-yard gallop. Now, Saturday night, Narbonne goes to Hawaii. Aloha Stadium. They'll play St. Louis High School in Honolulu. St. Louis is the top team in the state of Hawaii. They, in fact, are 4-0, and they've outscored their opponents 203-20. Won't be easy for Manuel Douglas's team. Another squad out of the Marine League are the Pirates of San Pedro. They're 3-1. They're coming off their first loss of the year. They fell at Downey by a 56-42 count. I do love Sean Davenport, a great running back and a terrific linebacker. Wears number 6 for the Pirates. Corey Fausto is another outstanding player, and Junior Goff is the leader of that defense, another linebacker who is sensational. They will get tested again against a very solid Lawndale team that's also undefeated. So it's going to be a difficult assignment for the Pirates, but they've been getting it done. Speaking of getting it done, how about the Roosevelt Rough Riders? The Rough Riders are 4-0. They've scored 41, 41, 42, and 48 points in their 4 victories. The biggest victory over a very good Franklin team, and Franklin's a team that won an LA City championship last year at Division III. They won that game 42-35. Did this outstanding team from Roosevelt. And perhaps the tide is turning in the East LA Classic. You know, Garfield, which is 2-2, has won that game the last 6 years. But this year, Roosevelt is playing wonderful football, as is the Lock Saints. You know, the Saints are undefeated. They're 3-0. What makes it so astounding, they were only 1-9. They have a new coach in Michael Gleiss, who's a former football player at the University of Arizona, and he has really turned the program around. 3 shutouts, and they're led by a freshman defensive end, Jaquez Harvey. Number 99 can really flat out play. And there's another great player on that defensive front, Dante Sharp, big physical defensive lineman. And on offense, Ray Walters, a wide receiver, also plays some cornerback, is very, very good as well. So Locke High School turning things around, and they will be a factor in the Metro League. Congratulations to Southgate, a 32-31 victory over Palisades. Lucio Rodriguez had 17 tackles on defense. That's a breakthrough win for Jose Casagran's football team to improve to 2-2, getting a big victory over Palisades. Now, Palisades is probably in the biggest game of the week. They will host Huntington Park. Huntington Park is undefeated, just scored over 60 against Salesian. Huntington Park 4-0 goes to Pali. That'll be a terrific game. And finally, a note on volleyball. Speaking of Palisades, they're undefeated. They're ranked #1. They finished second last year, losing in 4 sets to Granada Hills in the championship match. But Carlos Gray's got his club really playing well. And it's always, it seems, Palisades and Granada Hills. Some of those other teams in the valley are doing pretty well. Taft is very good, El Camino is very solid, and Carson out of the Marine League is good in volleyball. But they all have something in common. Palisades, they haven't played Granada Hills, but they beat all those other teams. So early on, Gray's squad has sent a message that Palisades is the team to beat again in girls volleyball. That's it for now in the city section. Let's take it back over to Rich Estrella.
Thanks, Randy. Appreciate it. Every week, Randy Rosenbloom will be bringing us a city section report. And Bob, city section's underrated, man. It needs more coverage. It really does.
It really does, because so many great teams come out of the city section each and every year. And this is what's fun about doing this, is we get to cover those schools as well.
Not only great teams, but you have great athletes, great coaches. I mean, there's so much going on, and it just needs to get out, man. They don't have a voice, so hopefully
That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. All right, now we also covered the high desert this week. We got Carlos Peña with this report. Let's go to Carlos.
So this week's SoCal Prep Report. I'm Carlos Peña, and I'm bringing you football from California's very own high desert. That's right, high desert. And what better way to bring you football from the desert than with this game? It's a special game, the Bell Classic between Victor Valley and Apple Valley.
First quarter action, Apple Valley strikes first. Quarterback Jeff Wire hands off the ball for this 5-yard run on their first possession. Victor Valley responds immediately with this 5-yard run, trying to establish the running game. They would turn the ball over to Apple Valley, who quickly took advantage with his 10-yard pass to take the lead 14-0 in the first quarter. Victor Valley quarterback Seo Nemoa trying to make something happen, but came up short on this 5-yard run. Second quarter action, quarterback Seo Nemoa trying to find some breathing room was quickly chased down by Apple Valley's D-line. Same possession, Victor Valley desperately looking for some breathing room against the mighty Apple defense. Apple Valley then answered back late in the quarter with his timing pattern to the end zone, giving them a 27-0 lead.
As third quarter action began, Apple Valley found themselves with the ball.
Apple Valley quarterback Jeff Weiner rolled out and found his mark with his 10-yard scoring pass. Victor Valley finally found the end zone with his quick pass to the sideline at the end of the third quarter. Fourth quarter action, Apple Valley decides to opt for a trick play which found the end zone, giving them a 57-6 lead in the fourth. Apple Valley will hold off Victorville to the score of 57-6, giving them the win and a coveted bell for the 7th straight year. Apple Valley is undefeated this season and is definitely looking like the desert powerhouse. The Sun Devils face off against Adelanto this coming week. Victor Valley meets Chaparral head-on. Next week's game of the week is Silverado taking on Hesperia. Other high desert scores to look at: Silverado 73 over Eastside, Aguro over Adelanto, and Oak Hills over Etowanda. Excelsior 57 over Ribbit Academy, Sultana over Barstow, and South Pasadena 55 over River Prep.
All right. Thank you, Carlos, for your report in the high desert action. And Bob, the center section's so big, man. I mean, all the way up to Tehachapi, all the way down to wherever he was, the low desert, high desert. But listen, man, it's all over the place, and we're just glad to have people out there, good correspondents.
I talked to Commissioner Wygod, a while back, and I said, how do you do it? How do you go to all these places? He goes, man, it's a lot of miles on my car, right?
Yeah, but hey,
Got to do it.
Got to do what you got to do.
That's it.
All right, let's take a look at the national picture, since we have a lot of southern section teams here in Southern California that make up the national picture. Let's have a look right now. Modern Day is everybody's consensus #1 right now, Bob.
Without a doubt, the #1 team in the entire nation, and nobody's even close, in my opinion, at this point.
Bob, I didn't even see it coming. I'm just going to say that right now.
Well, yeah, I tell you, the thing that helped Mater Dei this year, I think, was losing to Bosco last year.
Yes.
When they won the regular season matchup, they are the defending Trinity League champions, despite the fact that Bosco won CIF, won state. Mater Dei really, you know, their whole thing this year was redemption, a season of redemption, and they had all the pieces coming back, and that's the point of it, is that this Mater Dei team has a ton of talent, and you see what they're doing now. They're not just winning games, they're dismantling teams. And we're going to look at the matchup this week against St. Mary's from Stockton. This has trap game written all over it. No way.
No, it's not gonna happen.
No,
Nah,
everybody's
trap
talking about
game's
it.
not
It's
game. Get outta
because
here.
they're traveling up to San Francisco. They're going to play at Levi Stadium, or excuse me, Santa Clara officially.
I think their B team can take St. Mary's.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt that right, Mater Dei's got kids standing on the sidelines who can go in and be the top player on almost any other team in the nation.
All right, the number 2 spot is the professional high school football teams. IMG Academy, that is a sports academy. Make no mistake, they're not there to learn anything other than how to catch a ball, and run hard, and block. And we always make fun, but anyways, IMG Academy from Florida, number 2, of course, they were off. St. Thomas Aquinas was off last week. The Florida's, they're still, you know, bailing stuff out, trying to dry it a little bit.
For sure.
Chris Bosco staying at the 4th spot. Big win last week for them. Corona Centennial won big over Narbonne. They hold on to the 5th spot. And I'm telling you, man, the reason all these guys are bunched up is because they've all played each other.
Right.
Aquinas Bosco played. Mater Dei obviously is going to play Bosco. Corona Centennial has already played IMG Academy. I mean, these guys are all going after it. And Gorman number 10. Gorman, of course, played Mater Dei.
Right.
And, you know, they usually play Centennial over there. They're not going to play this year, though.
Look, a team like Grayson in Georgia,
Oh,
the
yeah.
top team in the state of Georgia, the Chaminade here locally.
Great.
They're hoping to get a chance to beat somebody and move they're going to need a Mater Dei or a Bosco to lose to have a chance to move up a little bit there.
And then again, if it's a tight game, you can't drop them. You can't drop them. You can't do it. And let's look at Grayson. Grayson was off this week because again the hurricane kept them from playing. They're in Georgia. Chaminade, of course, continued to roll. I'm surprised that Chaminade's getting this much love. And no offense to people out there, Chaminade, but there's no surprise that they're getting this much love. I mean, I'm surprised that they're getting this much love. No surprise about Mater Dei and Bosco. Those guys are the mainstays. Even Centennial's not no shocker. But Chaminade, dude, really?
You don't see a team like Chaminade get national
They're
recognition.
too small.
Right.
It's
Locally,
too small a school.
locally we know who they are. Nationally, nobody knows them, but this is their year. This might be their
we'll
year
see.
to be a top 10 team.
Well, they got beat by Bosco
know they
already,
gotta
so they
love it.
can't win the championship.
No.
Bosco already beat them 31-17.
Right. So that pretty
But the
much
fact is, they hung with Bosco. The scores was a much wider margin of victory for Bosco than what it indicated, because Chaminade was in that game the whole way.
And we're going to see, because we thought Bosco was really maybe the team to start the season. Hey, this was still a great Bosco team, and they had a ton of talent. This is really a wake-up call for Bosco, I think, because they're going to have to bring their A+ game if they're going to have a shot against Mater Dei in a couple of weeks.
Rounding out Bingham, Utah, and of course Bishop Gorman. Bishop Gorman always tough. They play everybody all the time.
They do indeed.
Mission Viejo knocks Pauley from number 10 off the chart. Mission Viejo stays at 25. And that is, look at, we got 1, 2, 3, got 4, we got 5 teams. Actually, 5 teams in the top 25, but we have 4 in the top 10.
No better place in Southern California.
This is like basketball last year.
You used to get an argument from Florida and these other places. Nah, no more. Southern California is the home of all the top prep football.
Well, once Texas came out here and got beat every
Texas,
year
come
in the Shriners games, I mean, it pretty much changed everything.
Yep.
All right. Of course, coming in more than the halfway point, the games are big now. And let's take a look at some of the games that we think are big this week. No graphic? All right, let's just go. Bob, we talked about Santa Margarita, Mission Viejo. That's a huge ball game right there. Both teams 4-0. Santa Margarita is the surprise. My scouting report is very simple on this. Santa Margarita plays that up-tempo offense. They like to go sometimes with that no huddle and spurts, and that just wears people down. How that'll play against Mission Viejo, I don't know. I don't really know how good Mission Viejo's defense, other than to say they held Long Beach Poly to 7 points. They must be pretty darn good.
We're going to find out in this one, because Santa Margarita's scoring 50 points a game
50
on the
points,
season.
huh?
And Mission Viejo's got that top defense we talked about. So which one is going to budge? Is it going to be Santa Margarita's offense that's going to roll, or is Mission Viejo's defense going to hold that Eagle offense? This is really going to be the true test for both these schools, because if Margarita runs up points and they win this game, okay, they're legit. If Mission Viejo stops that great offense, then we're going to say, hey, Mission Viejo is not only the favorite in the South Coast League, which we already know, this is a favorite maybe for a state title.
And don't forget, both these teams are in the national hunt. Santa Margarita's been named in some publications. The aggregate wasn't big enough for us to put them in the national picture. Just not quite yet. All right, let's move on. Next matchup and see who we're looking at this week. So I believe it's Cerritos and John Glenn. John Glenn 3-1 on the Cerritos on the season. Cerritos 1-3. A lot of people might be asking, why do you got these two schools in here? Combined in the last 10 years, they probably won 10 games between them. But here's the deal. John Glenn is a very tiny public school. They don't even have 1,000 kids in that school. Yes. And they're in there, the Suburban League, a lot of top big schools in there. But for some reason, I don't think they've won 3 games in the last 5 years, but this season they start out 3-0, Bob. Or, they're 3-1 on the season. They won 1, lost 1, then won their last 2. It's a big thing for that school.
Well, absolutely is. And that Suburban League, which has been owned by La Mirada for so many years in a row now. Right. To see a team like Glenn get in there and say, hey, look at that, we got 3 wins. Maybe there's
they're tied for first place right now.
Maybe there's a team to give La Mirada a run in that league.
Yeah,
it would be fun to see.
They're 0-4 right now.
You're right, but
they did play Modern Day.
That's against some really tough teams, though, right?
They played the Trinity League so far,
and they always get into their league play and then they kill everybody. So that's La Mirada's story every year.
But this is a big league game and Cerritos again having it tough. They're coming back. They almost lost their football program. They really had a tough time. All right, let's continue on. Look at the other matchups real quick. I believe we have St. John Bosco taking on St. John's College. St. John's College is a high school. They just call it St. John's College to scare people. I don't think Bosco's scared.
No, Bosco is not scared at all. Bosco is still Bosco. Jason Negro still has talent upon talent at St. John Bosco. We're not talking about them as much because we're talking so much about the rest of the league coming up and becoming as good as Bosco and maybe Modern Day, but don't sleep on Bosco. Don't sleep on the Braves. They are still a team to be reckoned with, absolutely.
St. John's ranked 18th nationally, Bosco number 4.
Right.
So another good game. This is why Bosco gets to stay, keep their high ranking,
absolutely,
even with the loss. Let's continue on. Look at our last matchup of the week. It's going to be Los Alamitos taking on J. Serra at J. Serra. Bob, another Trinity League team going up against a public school, Los Alamitos. Man, J. Serra has played some impressive teams already. They beat Norco. They crushed Alemany. They crushed Bishop Amont, and they crushed Vista Marietta last week. Los Al, though, the only loss was the Long Beach Poly 28-10. They blanked Lakewood. Right. Got 5,000 students in that school. Lakewood's a powerhouse. And maybe not in football right now, but they used to be. And then Banning, they beat them 51-6. So I really don't know what's going to happen other than to say it's public versus parochial again. Parochial probably went out on this one.
It wasn't so much as a culture change at J. Serra with new coach Pat Harlow, but it was just that talent base is now up at the point where that's a really good team. And now Coach Harlow, the former professional.
Didn't he play at USC?
He played at USC.
Tackle or a guard
absolutely
or
played
like
for the New England Patriots right before the glory years there in New England. But really good tackle there at USC. And he's really building that J. Serra squad. This is a big test for them as well, because Los Al, always a talented team in the southern section. We'll see what J. Serra has here, because I think a lot of people are saying maybe that's a soft 4-0. I don't think it is.
No, heck no.
I saw J. Serra in the summer. I saw them in the passing league, and my eyes got opened a little bit.
They're
said, "Hey,
crushing people
this is a team that can put up some points." They really impressed me in the passing league over at Edison this summer. So I think that J. Serra team's for real.
All right. We're running up against the clock right now. I'd like to tell everybody, man, get out and see some high school football this week. You'll never see a better, more honest effort than you will see in high school. There's no pretense here. Everybody's just trying to get a little bit of their own, get a little local fame here, Bob.
So true. It's
so
true.
Very few guys go on to the next level. Very few indeed. All right, I'd like to say on behalf of the cast and crew and my partner Bob Gibson, I'm Rich Estrella, saying so long from your friends here at the SoCal Prep Report. We'll see you next week. Go out and enjoy some football.